Is
my
my
hair
first
okay,
running
Emily?
coach.
Oh no, I feel
When we were both living in
unprepared.
Hong Kong, look at that blue
Yes,
sky.
I know today's a
The
sunny day, so I
sun.
thought I'd be outside and trying to get my vitamin D, set my cortisol rhythm, you know, eyes
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
sun.
You're lucky. Not many of us get to go outside right now.
No, to be fair though, I'm very lucky I have a garden. And this in London is an absolute privilege for anyone who is a Londoner. So we're really
Yeah.
lucky
I didn't
that
even
I can
know
actually
people
be
in
outside.
London have gardens.
No,
Well, like if you
not.
live out in the boonies.
Yes, we're not super close. We're like 45. We live in Balham, so like 45 minutes from the centre. So zone three though, I'll take it every time.
So I haven't caught up with you in a long time. It sounds like you've had quite a few changes in your life situation, right? How have
Yep.
you been dealing with like the most recent big change?
What, the adoption of two boys,
Yeah.
or where the world is right now.
Let's start with the more happy one.
Yeah, it's been we've been dads now for 20, probably 20 odd months, and it was all official in October time, actually October time. So it was
How old
quite
are
a
they?
long process. They are 5 and 6. They are a year apart, birth, and they're very, very competitive. They're very physical boys, and yeah, so
You sure they're
that
yours,
is
huh?
exactly. Well, right now it's obviously a bit difficult with having them inside
Mm.
more, but we're quite lucky. We have a car park out the front, and right now the UK isn't. There's no curfew right now. There isn't anything that is restricting us from being in our close proximity. So we're still going out the front. I literally bought some like cones and hoops and bags, so they could like throw stuff and just trying to do stuff where they're out and actually getting some physical energy out, as well as trying to do some creative things on the inside. But not gonna lie, I'm painting it out like it's easy and I've got it all sorted. I definitely do
It does
not.
not sound easy. I bet a lot of
No.
parents out there right now are just like grasping at straws, like how can I get more creative in keeping my kids entertained while still
Well,
maintaining
the
my
only
own
advice I would
sanity?
have, exactly, I would say you have to look after yourself first. I think lots of parents try and be a bit too selfless and try and put themselves, other people in front of them. And actually, there's obviously a balance to be struck. But I know for me, and you can speak for yourself, having gone through so much in your life, that you have to do things that are good for you to then project anything out. And you can project out for a while, like we can do it for a while. But if you don't have your normal vices, being able to train, go to a gym, see your friends, eat and drink what you want all the time, then something's going to have to give. And there are times where I've had to be like, do you know what? The boys are going to sit in front of a film. I'm going to let them watch Disney for 5 hours, because if I try and force myself to do more things with them and they don't comply, it's just going to create this cycle that I'm going to start thinking negatively. They're going to start pushing back. And there have been days where I have to just be like, do you know what? 80-20 rule. If you're doing 80% of the right things, just take your
Yeah.
time, rebuild, regather, and kind of go from there. So we're learning a lot. It's been very difficult, but for anyone who is struggling with kids, just remember that if you're worried about their education, that is such a higher need. It's even higher in the brain, right? But thinking about what you're trying to do there, you're likely not a trained teacher. And I was a teacher before. I was a graduate teacher,
Mm.
and even I am struggling to have the patience and the discipline and the mental kind of acuity to pass that
Yeah.
on. And that's why they go to school. They
Yeah.
also need detachment from you. Like normally you get breaks, they go to school, you see other people, but right
Yeah.
now they firstly, two boys don't get a break from each other and they don't get
Yeah.
a break from us. And we don't get a break as a couple. So there's so much there in this weird
Mm.
like cube that normally would naturally ebb and flow and you can, do stuff. And now you just have to, I mean, I'm trying to take my own advice while I'm trying to say it, just to be like, it's okay if they just watch TV for a while. It's okay if they just, do something that is non-educational or
Yeah.
non-productive. Because right now, most of us in our professions, we're struggling, I think, to actually feel like we're progressing in our careers and progressing in our, helping of people. So it's the same process, but, they can't understand what's going on. So they can't show
Yeah.
any
Well,
appreciation of what you're doing.
easier said than done, right? It's easier said than done to say, okay, it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that, but just how much are you going to give because you don't want this to be the new norm either. For example, most of us in fitness and health and in just in overall and overall having a practice, we're so used to having things set in place and things to achieve, and that makes us feel productive, and that makes us feel like we're making headways in life. Now we're giving ourselves excuses to kind of not prioritize that. Do you think some might fear losing control in that sense and
Yeah,
not being
definitely.
able to take back the reins?
I definitely think so. And I think as we as trainers, coaches, movement people, physios, osteos, chiropractors, whatever, we're very much firstly into the science and into like application and time and attention and hours and minutes. And I work for an hour, I help someone, and right now that's all out the window. So all of our like mechanisms to kind of structure our lives and when we eat and where we get our food and when we're going to get our coffee because that's going to start us for the right part of the day, but now I'm waking up at a
Yeah.
different time, it's all just off. So yes, and just give yourself a break often to be like, even if you have 3 good days, doesn't mean the fourth day is going to be a good one, right?
Yeah.
Just like training days, you can have 3 huge days, everything feels great, and you come in on the fourth day and you try that, and you can't hand balance, and you miss your snatch, and you can't, do your muscle up, whatever it may be, and you're just like, do you know what, today's just a bad day. And normally you'd be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and we can't. We're stuck. We're stuck in our houses, we're stuck doing what we're doing. And yeah, there's a few days, definitely two in the past 2 weeks, where I've just had to, it's like 3 p.m. and I'm like, there's no saving today. Like, I can't, there's nothing I can do for
Saving
the rest of the
today.
day. Exactly. I can't, normally you're like, oh no, do you know what I'll do? I'm going to eat some food, maybe have a nap, or I'm going to go talk to my friend, blah, blah, and then I'm going to come back, I'm going to hit it again. I'm going to try and help this client. I'm going to do my nighttime classes. I'm going to do my yoga practice later when I get home, and we can, fix it because we're such fixers. We want to fix people, we want to help people, we want to help ourselves. And then when we don't and we double down, usually we're very good at kind of being like, I know, I just need that one hit at the end, right? And if we miss that one as well, it would just go even lower. So sometimes you do have to, I think, cut your losses and just say, yeah, today hasn't gone to plan. Have a little rethink. I've done a lot more journaling. Start and end of the day. It's something that I got into a few years ago, but it just helps to just be like, what has gone well at the end of the day? How have things been going, and why are you doing this? The why has come up a lot because when I think about it, when I'm struggling with the boys and trying to do this, and like, but why did we want to go down this path? And ultimately, we wanted to be happy and we wanted to be a family, and that isn't based on whether they can pass their grades or do super well or if they make lots of money or that stuff isn't actually the core reason. If I think back to it and I'm like, well, if they're happy and right now as a house, touch wood, we're healthy, like those are two big ticks. And if I can keep those two things going, you just got to be like that 20%, just let it fall, let it die.
Tell me more about your journaling, because I also have a journaling practice, but that journaling practice has definitely evolved and changed
Yeah.
over time. So tell me about yours. How, first of all, what is the intention? What do you expect to get out of journaling?
Yeah, I think, like you say, a lot of things have evolved. And I originally started using an app called the 5 Minute Journal, which is also a book. And it's quite simple for you to just structure things around. But, I've done lots of different, I guess mindfulness is quite like a buzzword and like meditative style things. And I think it's just all part of that package. And I think the more we as coaches, helpers, trainers go down the journey, the more we realize there's actually just lots of tools that are kind of the same thing. Right, we all
Mm.
express them differently, but ultimately they're all the same. Whether we're training and it's like contracting this muscle, or we're working on our breath and we're breathing, or we're focusing on our core, or we're trying to build our 1RM snatch, whatever it may be, all we're trying to do is self better ourselves and work
Mm.
towards some kind of goal, right?
Mm.
And I think you joke at the start that we've both met through CrossFit, and neither of us now really CrossFit much at all. Um, but we still speak the same language and we still
Yeah.
connect, and so and we still quote unquote do CrossFit, but it just isn't the same as what it was back then. We
Correct.
try and take
The,
everything
the,
that
the
we've learned.
process is still there.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at it, I go down that path a little bit, what CrossFit looks like, they've done the same thing. They've taken some gymnastics and some weightlifting and some monostructural, aerobic work, and they've thrown it together and they've just made it a little more circular and they've put a little bind around it. But ultimately, like, is it that different to martial arts or dance? Like, no, because they're kind of derivatives of also different things, and everything kind of is the same. And we as, people who want to help people, just find the bits that we stay within our field within and try and apply those to the people they want to go through. So yeah, that was a bit of a tangent from
That's all right.
journaling.
You've already warned people that watch me ramble. I'm like,
Yes,
okay.
exactly. I'm a big like rambler, and like I'm really thankful just to being able to be connected and just like talk out some thoughts at the same time.
I think this is so essential, though. I mean, like, first of all, I'll tell you first. This might cut off in about 3 minutes because Instagram Live does have a 1 hour kind of a
Yeah.
limit. But yeah, so in the last few minutes, I want to actually ask you more about Training Lab because I didn't know that you started Training Lab.
Yeah, so it was just a bit more of a formal way to help people. And I've always been a bit of a number two, and I still probably am. Like, I like to be a bit more behind the scenes, and I don't love the sound of my own voice. I talk a lot, but I don't like the sound of my voice. And I don't like putting lots of content out there because I still have a bit of like an ego that I have to work on and don't want other people to, slam my ideas and whatever. But it's just a way to connect and help people. So I train people in person, I train people remotely. I do what most, trainers try and do. But I think the reason why I did call it the training lab is because it is what I see as an experiment. I think I never pretend anymore, as a young trainer I might have, to know all the answers or that my way is the only way. If anything, the more that we learn, the more we realize that those aren't true. And then it becomes a bit more of a, how do I connect with that person to then help them? So yeah, it's a bit like, everyone I think in this industry is struggling right now. But, I was speaking to a friend and I said, lots of people need to take this time to just think about why you do what you do and take away the money of it. And obviously, if some people are in financial difficulties, you've got to figure that out. Know how much money you have, know how much money this might be, what the government might or might not offer, and all of that. And that will be separate. And then on this side, you got to be like, okay, if I had 3 clients, I need to stay connected with them. If they don't pay me any money, I still love my job and I still got to help them or in any way whatsoever. And that will at least fulfill this side of it. And if you realize that those things aren't enough, then you do have to start thinking about what will this look like in the long term? How will this have to change? What might I have to do to get me to why? But if it is, then you just think, okay, what are my skills? What are my, and ask those people, just say, why did you pick me as a personal trainer?
Personal with them, right? Like,
yeah,
it's personal for a reason. You get personal on that level.
Yeah, and they'll tell you, like, they'll say, it's so funny, like, one of my clients actually asked me, I asked for some referrals, and I'm really bad at that. And he was like, yeah, more than happy. He's like, what do you actually do? And I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, I've trained him for like 2 years, but he's asking me what I do because I've only trained him. He doesn't know how I train other people, and he doesn't know how to explain what I do. And I sat there and I had to spend 3 hours thinking, like, what do I actually, like, if someone was in an elevator pitch, which is what everyone does as a professional, you have an elevator, like a lift amount of time to explain what you do, you should know. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know that answer.
That goes in the journal. What is my elevator?
Yeah, exactly. And then I can't sleep, so I'm just like, ugh. But I think it's those kind of things where you have the time now. All the stuff when you're just like busy, you were working, you were getting money per hour, getting up early, doing your bulletproof coffee, and doing your intermittent fasting, and like doing all this other stuff, and going vegan. Like now, it's no one's it's going to care about those things. It's going to be, what are your core values? Why are you doing this? And then figure out.
Why am I triggered?
Exactly.
These are like core questions to ask, definitely. But okay, so before it cuts out, because I don't like a shitty ending, thank you for taking the time to come on and ramble.
More than welcome.
Thank you first before it actually does cut out. But yeah, I'm going to link people to the training lab, and it sounds like you help do more than help people physically. It's you connect with them psychologically and help them understand themselves and the core why. So thank you. Thank you.